Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce, April 2021. Incredible to say that, virtual trustee luncheon. We're excited to have an incredibly great program today. It's my favorite time of year, baseball season. And they say that April's the cruelest month. Not so. We've got a great team and we've got a great program today. The luncheon's topic is breaking barriers, women leadership in sports. And we've got a panel discussion led by one of our top women leaders in sports, Kelly Sacco. So we're really appreciative of her being here. With us today are a bunch of special guests from the Marlin organizations. As you know, since it's opening week, we love to feature our favorite baseball team. And I think we've got an incredible business topic this time. Hey, look, we're going to spotlight our JMCC Unites program, which is the program that we put together to really reach out and incorporate many of the Black-owned small businessmen and women who are out there trying to help generate a lot greater business and prosperity for the entire community. As you know, we usually have everyone on mute. However, you are our guest to use the chat, because that's where you all have a chance to network with each other and share information. Want to keep your eye on that, because as we go through, important links will be dropped in there for you to reference. We are, as always, going to have a Q&A session after our panel discussion. So please use the Q&A portion down there to submit your questions, because that's where our guest panelists and our host moderator is going to be looking for the questions. So please use that to address your questions. Now, today's session is being recorded as usual, and we're going to post that later on our site. Remember that no portion of the session can be used without our written consent, but we really do want you to reference back to it if you need. Now, without further ado, let me turn over the program to our chair, Miss Irene White, from our great sponsors, FPL.
Alfred, well, you are certainly game day ready. Looking great, Alfred, in your shirt. There you go. Look at that. Perfect. That's perfect. I could tell you did a lot of sports. So everyone, good afternoon and welcome to our April Trustee Luncheon. This is our virtual business luncheon. And, we got a great lineup for you. It's really very great to say that our Miami Marlins has been doing a tremendous job, not only building a great team that's going to field the ball field, but also they have a tremendous front office with a lot of powerhouse women who are in charge, and we are going to get to hear from these trailblazers. So I'm very, very excited to hear their insights in this area. I think that a lot of people will be very, very inspired by their stories. Before we get started, let us thank our sponsors. We can't bring you this great content without our sponsors. And, title sponsor is my company, Florida Power and Light. We love baseball too, and we're very happy to be the title sponsor. But we also have presenting sponsor is UHealth Sports Medicine Institute, presented by Juliana Munoz. She is the assistant professor, Department of Orthopedics. She is also the team doctor for the UM's Department of Intercollegiate Athletics, as well as the team doctor for the Miami Marlins. Also, we will have Career Source, who is of South Florida, represented today by Rick Beasley, who we know very well, who is their executive director. And we'll also be hearing from the supporting sponsor, Iberia Bank First Horizon, presented by David Pujol, who is a senior vice president of music and sports. So sponsors, please let us start with Dr. Munoz.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for inviting me to open up this discussion today. It's certainly a topic that's near and dear to my heart, mainly bringing girls into a boys club. My name is Julie Munoz. I'm a shoulder, elbow, and sports medicine orthopedic surgeon at the University of Miami, and I am one of the team physicians for the Miami Marlins. I am originally from Massachusetts and did all of my training up there and in New York. Or at least on the surface, I think that some of these gender inequalities seemed a little bit less obvious than in other parts of the country. I'm the youngest of 4 children. My father is an orthopedic surgeon. My mother was a nurse. I have a brother who's in sports medicine, television production, a sister who's a urologist, which is also an extremely heavily male-dominated medical specialty, and another sister who's in business administration. So when I was growing up in our household, there was never a message that there was anything that you could or could not do just by virtue of the fact that you were a girl or a boy. Ironically, the first time that I became aware that it was perhaps an unusual choice for a 5'5" female to go into orthopedic surgery was as a 3rd-year medical student when I was speaking with my student advisor. She was a female psychiatrist, and she laughed in my face and in the face of my friend, who later became a plastic surgeon, when we told her what our career plans were and how we were going to set up our 4th-year medical student schedules. And she laughed. And then she said to us, well, you know, you need to be really competitive for those fields. And so Carolyn and I looked at each other really kind of confused, because the two of us knew that we had great scores and good transcripts. And we really didn't understand what she meant by that. In any case, I became an orthopedic surgeon and Carolyn became a plastic surgeon. And when I look back on that, I wonder why in God's name, as a mentor, that was her first reaction to the two of us telling her what our dreams were. And of course, I suppose it's possible that she wasn't so great at her job and she just didn't know what our transcripts were or how competitive we were. But I think in reality, it probably had more to do with what she knew was going to be a hard road. I think that her saying, you know, you really need to be competitive, was just a thinly veiled, well, you need to be a boy to get through that. And now on the other side of it, I know she was wrong. It certainly wasn't the easiest of roads. It was hard work, just like it was for the boys. And there were certainly occasions where things happened that shouldn't have, just because I was a girl. But I did it, I got through it, and here I am. I'm now the mother of a daughter. And when I think about the messages that we need to be sending to our daughters and our young girls and our young women and our older women, it needs to be a different message. Because quite frankly, we need to make sure that there are girls in these fields so that the girls and the boys know that these fields are fields for everybody. There's really no industry that thrives with only one kind of mind, one kind of brain, one kind of perspective. And with that, I would like to introduce you to the first general manager in Major League Baseball, in addition to the COO and the VP of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Miami Marlins Professional Baseball Organization, Ms. Kim Ang, Ms. Caroline O'Connor, and Ms. Rocky Egusquiza. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Rick Beasley with Career Source South Florida. And on behalf of Career Source, I want to first thank the Chamber for its efforts in leading this discussion and highlighting the success and the trailblazing attitude of the Miami Marlins and having women lead. And I'm so proud of what the Marlins are doing. This is fantastic. I want to share with you some of the initiatives that most folks in the community may or may not know. But Career Source South Florida, our role again is to provide workforce solutions to employers. But we also see a way of how we help increase the role of women in industries that have been typically dominated by men. In partnership with the YWCA, we launched a tech hire initiative called Women in Tech. And actually in April of later on this month, we're going to launch the 4th cohort of Women in Tech to promote women in advancing their careers in information technology. And so we applaud the work of the Marlins. We applaud the work of the Chamber and what you all are doing to not only look at and highlight the success of women, but also highlight the success of those populations that tend to be left out. So Alfred, hats off to you and your staff. Wonderful work of our chairperson, our chairwoman, our fearless leader, Irene White, and what she's doing at Florida Power and Light. Well, we continue to applaud and continue to promote diversity and inclusion throughout Miami-Dade County. So on behalf of Career Source South Florida, we thank you for the work that you all are doing. We continue to be a partner with you in this endeavor. Thank you.
Hello, my name is David Peugeot, and I'm here representing Iberia Bank, First Horizon Sports and Entertainment Group. We are happy to be a sponsor today with the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce April Trustee Luncheon. We have a long history with the Chamber and have been partnering with them for over 40 years. Our two companies, First Horizon and Iberia Bank, recently merged, and later this year will be operating under the First Horizon name. Together, we're a full-service, $85 billion regional bank operating in 12 states, with over 130 years in the banking industry, with a large presence in Miami and other key Florida markets. My role with Iberia Bank, First Horizon, is working specifically with our individual athletes, entertainers, and their attorneys to help clients reach their financial goal. And we appreciate the opportunity to be involved with this event today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, sponsors, and thank you for those comments. I think it's going to really kick off a very good panel discussion. Before we get started, I really want to take this opportunity to highlight GMCC Unites. We have talked about it on previous programs, the importance of this program to our chamber. If you remember, this is a program that supports the growth of Black-owned businesses by providing a multitude of large industry leading organizations through which they can learn from, they can get to know, and they can work to increase the size and the growth, right, of their businesses. So we're very happy today to be able to bring to you Charisse Chester, President and Chief Creative Officer of Creative Vision Media. And she is going to tell her story of being involved in GMCC Unites. And so Charisse, if you're there you are. I see you. Very good. The floor is yours, my dear.
Thank you so much, Irene, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Charisse Chester, owner of Creative Vision Media, which is a public relations, public involvement consulting firm on transportation and construction projects in the Tri-County area. When I established my business in 2002, I sought out mentoring relationships. And over the years, many entrepreneurs have been available for feedback and guidance in my company's development. However, the relationships have not been consistent. So when I read the Miami Herald article about the GMCC Unites program, I was excited and enthusiastic about considering my application for participation. In fact, I submitted my application and continued to call and email the staff. My apologies to the staff, but I was so motivated to participate in the program. What was my thought at the time? Finally, an organized business development program to connect entrepreneurs in a mentor-protege relationship. It has been a rewarding experience to have as my mentor, Rizal Alvarez of the iZoom Productions. We've had one-on-one sessions. She's challenged me to survey my team to determine our strengths. She's provided feedback on my business ideas and invited me to participate in her company's events. Rizal is truly committed to my success in the program. In fact, she's in Oregon on vacation, and she called to check on me just before this segment. I say since I've launched, I joined the Transportation Committee to learn more about what's going on in the community. I've attended virtual events, and I've engaged with other chamber members. I commend the chamber, Irene, Alfred, and their team for the vision and investment of resources to conduct this program. This program provides Black-owned firms such as myself with an opportunity to build business relationships with larger companies, network with each other as Black-owned firms, and of course, prepare us to become members and GMCC Unites mentors in the future as we grow our companies. And I thank you for this opportunity to share my experience. I look forward to continued opportunities with network with other chamber members. And if you would like to connect with me or learn more about our company, please visit thebestcreativeteam.com. Thank you so much again, Irene.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us, Charisse. That's terrific. And the information for Charisse's company is right here on your chat, so all of us can see that. Thank you again, Charisse. That was tremendous. And we're going to make this program even bigger. You have my commitment to that. So now to our program. We, as we said, under the leadership of Derek Jeter, we are very fortunate to have a tremendous panel, because they really are ahead of the game, if you will, way ahead when it looks at diversity, when it looks at women in key leadership positions. So as we discussed, we will have Kim Ng, the baseball's first female general manager, on our panel. We also will have Caroline O'Connor, the CEO for the Marlins, and we will have our dear friend Rocky Egusquiza, Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion, who also serves as the Executive Director of the Miami Marlins Foundation and serves many, many years on the Chamber's Board of Directors. So a great panel coming your way. We also have, because we're not only going to have trailblazing women, but we're going to have the moderator is also in her own right a trailblazer. And it's Kelly Sacco, who's with us. She is the sideline reporter, producer, host of Fox Sports Florida, and the Marlins radio analyst. Kelly is entering her third season covering Miami Marlins baseball on Fox Sports Florida. In addition to her work on the sidelines, she also produces and hosts episodes of Marlins Clubhouse, Marlins All Access, Marlins Prospect Spotlight, and Baseball 101. Along with her work on Fox Sports Florida, she serves as an analyst on select University of Miami baseball games on the ESPN platforms. She attended Syracuse University on a full athletic scholarship, where she played on the two-time Big East Championship softball team and lettered for her 4 years that she was there. So quite a busy woman. Kelly, I turn it over to you. I wish I could say I had some of your resume in common with mine, but that's just tremendous. Welcome to our show, Kelly. Go right ahead.
Thank you for having me. You can't see under that mask, but I was blushing and I wanted to keep it on so you wouldn't see. But I'm just thrilled to be here with such incredible, strong women. And yeah, I just thank you so much. And let's get right to it. All right, so Kim, we're gonna go around the horn here. Kim, Caroline, then Rocky. What was your path to get into baseball, your position, and how did you start, begin to work with the Marlins? We'll start with Kim.
Hi, Kelly. So nice to be here with all of you. So first of all, I was a huge sports nut when I was a kid. I was a big tomboy. I was always outside playing in the dirt, playing with all the other boys. And so that really transformed into me becoming an intercollegiate athlete at the University of Chicago. And it was there I played softball, wanted to play tennis, but didn't think the two sports would be so good for my academic career. And really, I got very involved in the athletic community there, and I was involved in many different facets of the athletic associations, the yearbook, the sports section of the newspaper. It was at the U of C where I was a public policy major, and I decided to write my senior thesis on Title IX, which is the law that basically prohibits discrimination based on sex. And so it was really my research there at U of C which led me to think about how I could make a career of being in sports. And so I was fortunate enough to get an internship with the Chicago White Sox, just up the street from campus, and started out there when I was 21 years old. And from there, I worked for several different organizations, the White Sox, the Dodgers, and the Yankees. Those two I was the assistant GM of, and then went on to be the SVP of baseball operations at MLB, which eventually led to my job with the Marlins. It was, I can tell you, it was when I was with the Yankees in 1998 to 2001, which is where I met a fellow named Derek Jeter, who happened to be the shortstop for that team for many years. And it was our very professional relationship that I think helped lead to where I am now. And so I can tell you that I couldn't be happier to be with the Marlins organization, all that they represent and all that they stand for within the community.
Caroline, you're up next.
Caroline, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I said, I took a different path to get here. I don't have the athletic prowess of Kelly or Kim. So for me, similar stories as far as, focusing on a study area. For me, it was more business and finance. And so came up through my internships in businesses in the banking industry, but built some core skills that really were transferable across industries. And as many things in life, it was a little bit of right place, right time, where someone approached me about an opportunity in the Marlins as the new ownership group was getting ready to come on board. So I was really fortunate to have built the skills that allowed me to be part of that group that was considered, and really feel lucky to have this opportunity in such an exciting industry, in such an exciting community, and to be here with all of you today.
Rocky, what path took you to the Marlins?
Well, it's interesting. My connection to baseball is really more tied to family memories, watching and attending games with my grandfather. I often joke that I would sit on his lap as a little girl. He'd scream at the radio, which was his favorite form of, listening to the game. And I just thought it was like fun and exciting. So unlike Kelly, you and Kim, I guess my story is more like Caroline's, that I didn't really play sports or was a student athlete, but did have a passion for the game, and that sort of nostalgia and family memories tied to baseball that made me really look at the industry after I had a child later in life, and sort of looked at the possibility and opportunity to really share my work with my son, who now I'm proud to say plays T-ball for a Miami Marlins T-ball program. And so really looked at the opportunity because I wanted, I have been blessed. I've had an incredible career, have worked for incredible brands, many of which are members of the chamber. Worked in government in Miami-Dade County. I transitioned from government affairs after that to AT&T, and then did corporate social responsibility for Ford Motor Company, and later went to ARP to sort of create a center of excellence around diversity for the organization. And then went to NBC, so worked in media. So I feel like I've, worked across so many different industries, but was at a time in my life where I really, wanted to do something that I could share with my family. And there was no, better opportunity or better place to do that than in sports. And then with the Miami Marlins, that, where I grew up in Miami, and being able to give back to this community every day and make an impact, where I have memories as a little girl.
Well, Rocky, we'll start with you here because you kind of touched upon it. So although some of you have taken a unconventional path to get to the roles that you are today, what type of experiences have helped you guys prepare for the roles that you're in now? Rocky, we'll start with you.
I would say that, when I look back at my entire career path, I think that in my work today at the Marlins, I really bring a number of those past experiences to bear in my role. Both externally through the impact that we make in the community through the foundation and the work we're doing in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I mentioned at ARP, I was their a VP there and founded sort of their center of excellence to really infuse diversity across the organization. And I'm able to bring that skill set today to the work I'm doing at the Marlins. When you asked earlier, Kelly, sort of what was your path, my path was really transferable skill sets. I didn't have any previous experience in sports. I didn't play sports growing up, but I had, a wider range of skills, whether it was in diversity, equity, and inclusion in past roles, in marketing, in media, being able to really, tell our impact story and the work we're doing in the community, and understanding the value of, really making the impact, creating the programs, delivering against that, but then, telling the story, because if folks don't know what you're doing, they don't know where to tap into the resources and to the great programs that you have available. So, being able to kind of really intertwine and that intersectionality of those skills I had across all the different roles, the government affairs role and how we engage and tap into resources with our parks department and the county and others, really I'm able to really look at my past experiences and say, wow, I can really bring them all to my role today and continue to make an impact and continue to serve this community.
Caroline, what roles helped prepare you for where you are today?
say, my husband used to have a joke when I first got the job that he's been preparing me for this since I met him, with the number of sporting events and sporting events on TV that we've watched. So that's his proud moment. But besides just having a general passion and love for sports, I think for me, it's probably my experience in consulting that's made me the most prepared for this. And it's kind of dropping into a situation and, being able to be agile and get to know the group and the business and, be able to, be flexible with everything. So definitely being dynamic has helped me, and being ready to meet new people and tackle new situations. All that's been great. But I think just being a team player and also just having great work skills. One of the things I notice about baseball is it's one of the hardest working industries. We just mentioned it's opening week, so we're just about to wrap up 6 home games in 7 days, and Kim's about to get on a plane to do, another 7. So it's an extremely hardworking sport. You spend a lot of time with your colleagues, and I think teamwork and passion and dedication are just some things that I think are really important to succeed here.
And Kim, you came through sports since you were a little girl. How have some of those experiences helped you prepare for where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, for me, probably the biggest thing that has helped me is really having been an athlete and having an understanding of how athletes think, how coaches think, has really helped me in terms of relating to these guys and really being able to put myself, while not first class, world class athlete, but being able to put myself in their shoes and having an understanding of what they're going through and things that might help them. I think on a formal level, in terms of training, I would say my collegiate, work. I was, I graduated with a public policy degree, but I finished all the requirements for an economics degree. And so the coursework there was, linear algebra, statistics, econometrics. And I think, all of those types of classes really prepared me for the way that our industry has gone, which is much more analytically inclined. And it's helped me to transform and to move with the industry. So I think those two things have really, really helped me.
Kim, we'll stick with you here. Do you see a change in acceptance and the inclusion of women in leaderships in the world of sports?
From 20 years ago, yes, but I do think that more is needed. I do think that there need to be more women at all levels, from the ground level all the way up to Caroline's level. That's what I think is needed, and I think we've seen different examples of situations where if there were more women involved, I'm not sure we would necessarily be in these types of situations. So I do think that although it's changed, there's more that's needed, clearly.
Hey, Caroline, your thoughts?
I think it's hard not to sit up here on this impressive panel and not say that there's been a lot of progress. So really honored to work with Rocky and with Kim and a number of other women that we have in our organization. I think we can always get better. One of the things that I know that we do in our organization, and Rocky and Kim are great at it, is paying it forward, making that time for mentoring and developing that next level of female leaders. It's important for people to see themselves at every level, like Kim said. But for those of us that are here, it's important to be accessible and to help that person along that path. And I've really been impressed with the selfless leaders we have in our organization and the amount of outreach and coaching and mentoring that's done. And I think that's really going to take us forward.
Rocky, what have you seen through your experiences?
Kelly, I think what I can add is obviously there's research that shows that leadership and decision making are the biggest challenging that face sports and the progress really towards gender equality in sports. So I think I'd echo sort of what Carolyn said, right? One of the reasons I feel so fortunate at the Marlins organization is that we have a CEO and an ownership group who not only report diversity, equity, and inclusion as a value, but they practice it. Right? We see it in the actions that our organization is taking. It's not just written text, but the progress and the practice aligns with our values and our decision making. And that's evident, by the folks on this panel and, like Carolyn said, other women in leadership roles in our organization. But I also think that the individual women who sort of have overcome these obstacles and achieved great success, like Kim, like Caroline, like you, Kelly. You've broken barriers in sports journalism. You know, you serve as great examples to other women and young girls that can aspire to these roles. And that is so important, because if you see it, you believe that you can do it too. You know, and when we look at young women and seeing qualified women in sports leadership positions, it really serves as a really strong motivator, not just to female athletes, but to female business women. And there's a real important link between girls participating in sports and the positive outcomes that gives girls in education and health, in positioning them in the workforce. So, you know, I think panels like this, and I applaud the chamber for bringing you know, this to the forefront, really help other women see the possibility and continue that progress.
So Rocky, that being said, what work still needs to be done to ensure that today's foothold in women's sports isn't lost?
So you know, it's funny. I think obviously there's always work to be done. Diversity, equity, inclusion is a journey, and it's a learning journey. And I think sports organizations really at every level need to analyze their processes, see if there's any like structural barriers. What are the cultural practices? What are some of the capacity gaps that really could be a potential barrier for women? You know, unfortunately, sometimes there's unconscious bias or unconscious cultural gaps that just haven't been addressed for years. And it's important to kind of, you know, pause and really analyze and look and be really intentional about creating women leaders in sports. You know, one example I actually was sharing with Irene earlier before we started the panel is that, you know, if a job requires previous background in competitive sport to work at a sports organization, I wouldn't have this job, for example, right? And so that's not something, you know, that you might look at and say, oh, that's, you know, a conscious bias towards a woman applicant. But if less women are participating in sports or have worked in sports, and working in sports is a prerequisite to a job role, that's already eliminating part of your talent for that role. So I think it's important to really take a close look, you know, at all the selection processes, at the recruiting processes, you know, what are the skill sets you're looking for, and really understand that skill sets can be transferable, and just be open to giving women opportunities, and understand better the experiences that women have lived, right? That's how it's going to help you really determine and investigate if those inequities exist. What happened to the women who stepped down from positions? Why did they step down? Or why didn't they get that position or that role? You know, I've heard Kim speak before, and she often shares that, you know, she was up for a GM role various times before she took, you know, this position at the Marlins. You know, it's important to kind of investigate. She's extremely talented, and she didn't get the role before. Why? And are there, or were there, you know, cultural biases or reasons? And how do we get better and investigate that and try to improve that for future candidates and future opportunities?
Thank you, Rocky. Caroline, is there anything that you can add on this front?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to celebrate the organizations that get it right. I think, you know, I think we've all been overwhelmed with the positive sentiment that, you know, Kim's appointment has brought to us, and the number of people have said, you know, I'm a Marlins fan, I'm now a baseball fan. And that's been amazing and overwhelming, because, you know, like Rocky said, we wouldn't be here if we didn't work for, you know, such a progressive leadership team. And a lot goes to, you know, Derek and to Bruce for creating this culture here. But for us, so throughout the organization, it's for us to make sure that that exists everywhere. You know, that every hiring manager that has a broad mindset, you know, when they're writing job descriptions, they're thinking of, you know, what is a required skill and what's a nice to have. And that when we're looking at, you know, how we hire people, where are they falling out of the hiring process? You know, how can we go in and tweak that to, you know, make it, you know, more open to different people. So it's nice to say that the culture supports it and that we see a lot of it, but it does constantly need to be, you know, watched over to maintain, because it's very important, and you know, it's a delicate balance. So you have to put a lot of care into it to make sure that it continues through all the levels of the organization.
Kim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree absolutely with everything that Rocky and Caroline said. I mean, I can tell you from an MLB perspective, it would be great for those organizations that do well with respect to this issue, that they share their experiences, that they share their networks. I think some of these organizations just don't even necessarily understand it or know how to go about it. So I think there's that practical level of it. On more of an individual front, I would say, and I heard the word, I think Caroline mentioned, it was mentorship, making sure that all of us at these levels are being mentors towards to the younger set, because it's really important, and it is important for those younger ones to see us, not just on the platforms that we have, but also as somebody that they can talk to, that you don't have to, that we are human beings, and that we got here, in a decent way, not just by, walking through everyone. I think that is helpful for the younger set. I also think professional associations are, a group that we can look to. Groups like, Women in Sports and Events, they do some great programming for a lot of our younger folks. And then, I think in terms of our networks, one of the things that I saw coming up through baseball is that many of the guys, they had guys that they played with in college, or, in the minor leagues. They had guys that they worked with as scouts, et cetera. And for me, there were very few. And so I think to the extent that we can all expand our networks and share our networks with other women who are in leadership positions, as well as in middle management positions, the greater I think we can expedite this curve and expedite the number of hirings that we can get out there.
Those are great points. Kim, we're going to stick with you on this one. What do you think's been the biggest difference maker for women breaking into the world of sports? I know you mentioned doing a research paper on Title IX. Could that maybe be one of the things that helped?
I think, yeah, absolutely. But I think in reality, for me, in my opinion, the greatest thing has been societal change, progressive mindset, and really fathers wanting more for their daughters, I think is, what I've seen. And it's been my colleagues, of different generations. The generation right ahead of me, not as much, but some. My generation for sure. And then, a lot of these younger guys who are in my position, they're general managers in their 40s and 30s. I think they really do see this as an incredibly positive step forward. And it's something that, has now opened their world for their kids. So I think that that for me has been the biggest thing.
Caroline, what's your perspective?
Yeah, I think Kim said it well. I think it's everybody that's involved in this community, the way that we're considering people, and that people are seeing stories like ours. So even an event like today, and people going to it and spreading the word. Myself, when going to college, I didn't really see sports as a career, right? But clearly it is, and there's opportunities for people with different interests and different backgrounds, and I think everything that you're doing, that the chamber is doing to help us share this story and increase that talent pool and people, diverse people that are looking for opportunities in baseball and sports.
Rocky, you mentioned enjoying games with your father. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to take a different approach to the question, Kelly, because I'd like to kind of challenge all the businesses that are listening today to take a look at women and girls who played sports when you search for talent. Women who've played sports have unique problem solving and team building experiences. And when they enter the boardroom, women athletes have like this unique advantage, thriving on competition, determination, and strong work ethic. And I think, studies show that 94% of C-suite leaders, C-suite women played sports, which is amazing, right? So I think there's a real great pool of talent there, and perhaps not every person who plays sports is going to be a champion on the field, but they absolutely are going to be a champion in life. And I think a lot of the programs that we do in the community with young girls and boys and sports really help develop them to be champions. And I think it's important that everyone who's listening today kind of think through, your own hiring and your own recruiting, and, give girls in sports a chance. You'll be surprised.
Speaking of women in sports, this was a hot topic, and it was one that I will, first of all, say was did not sit well with me. What do you think? We'll start with Rocky. What do you make of the recent news surrounding the NCAA tournament, the disparity of the men's and women's accommodations?
At the end of the day, I think conversations about inequalities in sports aren't new, right? And when things are brought to light like this, it really raises awareness, and I think it allows us to further really investigate why are these disparities occurring, and evaluating and really addressing, and what's uncovered, I think, is going to lead to greater equity in the future across all sports. So, it's unfortunate when you see these things, but I think bringing it to light helps all sports really take a pause and look and reevaluate and make sure that things are more equitable.
Caroline, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, the oversight and attention that it got, it was great that it got that publicity, but I think the most inspiring was to see how quickly, the communities responded to it, businesses. So I think, they had a full workout facility within 24 hours of the story getting out. So that was the amazing part. I think if we continue to tell these stories and to, demand better, I think people are receptive to it, and there just needs to be a greater awareness of it. But, we want to move these things forward. And I was, really glad to see the quick response to it.
Kim, your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Just happy that it got called out and was rectified very quickly. And to me, it really accentuated the power of social media and how powerful it's been, not just with this situation, but many others over the last year. But that was really powerful for me.
We're going to continue around the horn. We'll start with Kim. What advice would you give women who are interested in following in your footsteps?
I would say be prepared, be focused, form your network. Your network is incredibly important because they're the ones that are going to support you. They're the ones that are going to give you leads when you need them. And lastly, I would say identify your allies. Identify your allies and keep them close, and use them when you can. And you obviously you have to reciprocate, and you have to be an ally as well. But I can't stress enough that support that everybody needs.
Caroline, what's your advice?
Hey, don't underestimate yourself. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do something. You can accomplish amazing things. So I'd say, just keep pushing forward on where you want to get to, and know your worth and your value to an organization. Make sure that you're spending your time is moving you in the direction that you want to go, and keep pushing forward and be persistent.
Rocky?
I would say, remember it's a journey and enjoy the journey. Sometimes we're so focused on kind of what's next that we don't enjoy the moment. So I think that's important. Work hard, but work with purpose. I think, that's something I'm really proud of. I think every role I've ever had, when I work with purpose, I'm fulfilled. And so that's important. I would also say, dream big and embrace new possibility. Like Carolyn said, sometimes I think, and I'll share just a quick personal story. Sometimes we have self-imposed capacity gaps, and I think I had a male mentor early in my career that pointed this out to me, and I was evaluating a job transition, and I thought I needed more, education. I needed more experience for that next role. So I was going to go to a role that was going to give me that. And, he looked at me straight in the eye and he said, Rocky, you're thinking like a woman. A man would jump right in and learn the job along the way. And you think you need more experience for a job. They wouldn't offer you that job if they didn't know you could do it right now. And so you're limiting yourself. And so, I think it's important. For me, had I not listened to that mentor or tapped into my network, like Kim commented, I probably would have taken a different road, and maybe my career would have looked very different today than it looks now. And I wouldn't have had the different experiences I had. So, I'd say, stop, celebrate the small wins, be open to refreshing your dream, because sometimes there's things that aren't within our control that impact our journey. But at the end of the day, I think stay humble, be authentic, and be grateful.
That's a great story, Rocky. I love that. Rocky, we're going to stick with you. I mean, clearly the Marlins are walking the walk. Two of the top execs in the organization are women. And now, Rocky, you're the foundation leader and you're in charge of the diversity and inclusion program. So tell us about this program. What are the policies and goals?
So we want to make sure we create and nurture a diverse and inclusive workforce at the Marlins, both on the field and off the field. We look at it as sort of the power of our collective is what's going to create that meaningful impact for our people, our fans, and our community. So when we look at sort of our strategy and our operating model, there's really 3 core areas that we hope to continue to progress on. One is people, one is culture, and the third is community. And in that people space, we know that our success is really tied to like the diversity of our talent, the ability to really empower our diversity of perspective through our inclusive leadership. And so we're assessing and evaluating all of our existing programs and policies and ensuring that we continue, that the work is never done, right? That we continue to build and grow. We want to be intentional about recruiting and developing and advancing underrepresented talent in our organization. When we look at culture, we want to make sure we're empowering our leaders within the organization that can really lead and engage inclusively. And we want all of our employees to be part of advancing DEI. I might be the VP of DEI in the organization, but I can't do the work alone. It takes every single employee in our organization to really move us forward and propel us forward. So in that space, we've created a diversity, inclusion, and belonging committee that has representation across our entire organization. And we work with our employees hand in hand to really advance the diversity work within. We're deploying diversity, equity, and inclusion training and educational efforts for all of our employees because we know that's important and we want to make sure we're continuing to educate and grow in the space. And in the area of community, we're really looking at supporting and advancing diversity in our community, both through our philanthropic efforts at the foundation, as well with our external partners and our suppliers. And so in that space, I know earlier today, the Chamber highlighted the GMCC Unites program. We're really proud to be a founding sponsor of that program with the Chamber as one example of the work we're doing in the community. But we're also supporting our players. We're supporting their efforts around social justice. Earlier this year, we participated with the Players Alliance pull-up tour that went across the country. We recently launched our Sports Can Battle Racism training with the Positive Coaching Alliance to train students, student athletes, and coaches and really provide them with tools for allyship and to understand the historical perspective that sports has played in battling racism. And we're also honoring our fans and the diversity that our community has through our Heritage Nights. And so I really encourage everyone who's listening and tuning in today. We have a number of different Heritage Nights we celebrate in our community. We live in a very diverse community in Miami. We're proud to have players from a number of different diverse communities, and we want to make sure you guys come out and help us celebrate as we have these different Heritage Nights throughout the ballpark. And then we're also continuing our efforts in diversifying our supplier base because we know how important that is as well. So at the end of the day, we know that our leaders are driving our diversity commitment, and it's important. And to echo sort of the challenge that Derek gives me in this role every day, it's not just talking with words, but it's really taking action, and that's what we're trying to do.
That's great stuff, Rocky. Thank you so much. Caroline, Rocky touched upon it. Fans, they're back in the stands. How exciting was it to have them back in the building?
It's been amazing. It's hard to, replace the energy and the excitement that fans bring. I know you tried, Kelly, and last year through this season, you were by yourself broadcasting there. But it's been great to have the fans back. We've been so impressed with everybody who was so excited to come back. And just, seeing those familiar faces again and just, the joy that they bring to the ballpark itself, but to our players and the overall experience has been wonderful. So it's been a little bit like a reunion, it's been really a great week.
I don't know who's more excited to have fans back in the stands, quite frankly, the players or me. I was so thrilled to see everybody back there. But that being said, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. What's the organization doing to make sure the fans can enjoy a game safely here at Lone Depot Park?
Yeah, so this was top of mind for us in putting together our strategy to bring fans back, and we had plenty of time to plan for it. So we work closely with our elected officials and health experts on putting together that plan to bring people back safely. We connected with industry partners and created a great partnership with groups like Lysol to make sure that we're bringing the best safety standards into the ballpark. We went out for the well building certification, just again to make sure that we're doing everything we could to make the ballpark safe for our fans. So we put a lot of thought into it. We put a lot of product and logistics into it. And then in the day, there's a lot of people that goes into it also. So we have a great staff here. We've trained up all our staff on health and safety protocols and helping and coaching everyone here to this new way of watching baseball. And we're happy to say that with health and safety protocols alongside us, we can still have a great, enjoyable baseball experience here. And it's been, like I said, a great week.
Caroline, how is it operating at a reduced capacity, impacting revenue streams?
So, we view it as progress. So obviously having a year like last year when we couldn't have any fans, this is definitely progress for us along that path to get back to, fully open business. So when we look at, our staffing and our environment, we say we haven't, had fans in over a year. So this is a great way for us to kind of get everybody back into the swing of things. But we're really excited to continually increase our capacity. And, we're seeing the progress that we're making on vaccinations. We've been really proud to be part of that effort in the community, and we have a neighboring vaccination site here. So we're proud to be part of that effort of moving the community's, vaccination progress forward. And we're looking forward to, continual progress along that plan.
Last one for you, Caroline. We saw the big announcement right before opening day. We are now Loan Depot Park. What has this organization done to show your partners that they're the right fit?
Yeah, so I'm very excited. So the four of us are coming to you from Loan Depot Park today. So really proud of that announcement of our new naming partner. Great company and a great fit with the Marlins and with Miami. So, we were honored that, they saw their values and their culture in us, and also saw so much opportunity in the greater Miami area. The explosion of people moving to Miami, the focus on home ownership, all of that really fit with where they see their business wanting to grow. And then just the values of the organization of being out in the community side by side and bringing the community forward is something we're really excited about doing together in the future. So a lot of excitement around the organization about that. But, we've been, really pleased with our growth of new partners, increase of existing partners. We're proud to say we have some of the largest businesses in South Florida here as our strategic pillar partners. So, we heard from University of Miami Health System, so our great partners, and also at AutoNation and Ocean Bank. We're really proud to have those partners alongside us that realize what we're doing here. Our story is resonating with them and they want to be a part of that. So we're really proud of that recognition. We view it as progress, and really proud of it.
Great stuff. Thanks so much, Caroline. Kim, we'll wrap it up with you. Chatting about the team a little bit. Okay, not off to the greatest start, but there's plenty of season left to go. You're only 5 games in. What have you seen so far from the team?
Yeah, Kelly. So we haven't quite been running on all cylinders, but I think the one thing that fans should know is that you've seen glimpses of each of the parts of the team, on different nights. We just haven't gotten there all together. But I think the thing that really rings true for me is seeing these young players. The strength of our team is the youth. So, between Sandy Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, and their, I think, two runs in 17 innings over the first 5 days. Jazz Chisholm, I think we've seen how exciting a player he can be, how dynamic, all the different facets of his game. We saw Jordan Holloway step in the other night and give us 2 scoreless innings, and couldn't necessarily have anticipated that. Zach Pop, who we got in the Rule 5 draft. So all these names that, might not be, some of them should be familiar, but some of them might not. yeah, I think that that's the one thing that really shines through for me is our youth and you know what they're doing right now.
You mentioned it already a little bit, the pitching. Sandy Alcantara, lights out last night, 10 strikeouts, tied a career high. We got Pablo Lopez on the mound tonight. What excites you most about the pitching?
I think their stuff, you know, their pitching repertoire, the great arms that they have, and then their youth. You know, Brian Rogers went the other night and he had a bit of a tough first inning, but after that locked it down, and you know, and he was great, and he showed what we saw in spring training. So again, while we might not be on all cylinders, you definitely see glimpses, so that when we do get there, it's going to be really exciting.
Well, last one for you, Kim. As you've mentioned, we're not on all cylinders, and because that happens, and this is a very long season, and people get injured and things happen, how important is it for an organization to sustain success to have that depth in their farm system, that next man up mentality?
Yeah, no, it's incredibly important. And I'll give you an example. You know, the New York Yankees team that I was a part of in 1998. We had the core four, Derek Jeter, Jorge Posada, Andy Pettitte, Mariano Rivera, right? Those four were, you know, our stable holds. And then you go to the next four, Scott Brocious, Paul O'Neill, Tino Martinez. Those guys were all acquired via trades. So while they didn't necessarily come up through our system, we acquired them from our system. So the only free agent we got was David Cohn, right? And so I think that's really important for, you know, for many clubs that are not big market clubs, you know, where you don't just have, you know, $300 million payrolls. I mean, I think it's really important for many of these clubs to have, many of us to have a strong farm system. So not just on the field, but as you mentioned, you know, guys who can step in, you know, when other guys go down. So, you know, it's just, you have many more opportunities to fill in and to acquire talent if you have a strong system. So it's really important.
Well, Kim, Caroline, Rocky, thank you guys so much for your incredible insight and amazing words. Alfred, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, Kelly, yeah, I think this has been really fantastic, as we knew it would be. Ladies, thank you so much for being a part of this, having a great conversation. Kelly, I mean, you know, a lot of the questions I would love to have heard about you and your career path. I mean, we're going to try something new. We're going to actually, for the first time ever, because this is such an interesting topic, we have such interesting speakers here. We're going to first time ever allow the audience to actually ask their questions in person. You know, I think there's probably a lot of stuff that people want to do. So if you raise your hand, our staff will open up your mic and your camera. But while we're waiting for that, Kelly, let me ask you, what's the career path that took you, that brought you here to where you are now?
Oh, goodness. Well, the whole talking on the TV thing terrifies me. I know that probably comes as a shock to some people, but what brought me here was my love for sports. I've loved sports and been involved in all kinds of sports since I was a little kid. My mother was an Olympic athlete. She swam for Venezuela in the Olympics in '76, I believe it was. And it was actually her idea that I get into broadcast journalism. I had been offered a full ride to Syracuse, and I made the decision I was going to go there. And I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be in sports. I wasn't sure in what capacity. And that's when my mom said, hey, you know, Syracuse has this great broadcast program. You don't shut up. So why don't you try that? I was just like, okay. And I guess mom knows best, because once I got into it, as terrifying as it was, and it was very much out of my comfort zone in the being on TV aspect of things, but in my comfort zone of sports and doing something I love. So I never turned back after that.
That's great. You know, Kim, let me ask you, and Caroline too, because I think one of the things that the business community has been grappling with, and you know, we've done several surveys of the business community and found that there are a lot of lessons that have been learned during the pivot that we all have had to do for COVID. You all have certainly done that incredibly, sort of brought fans virtually into the fields. Are there any lessons that you all learned that you think you're going to keep and carry forward? I mean, let me start with you, Kim, and let's hear your answer to
Yeah, I think in terms of the way we communicate, yeah, obviously we're communicating very effectively via Zoom. I think, some of the things that we've brought to the table in terms of communicating with the players and, not necessarily letting distance separate us, and actually being able to, I think in terms of our training methods, video and Zoom and being able to see these guys almost as if you were live. Obviously, it's not quite the same, but it's a pretty good second. So I think these were some of the things, some of the walls I think that were broken down with this whole situation. One of the positives, but I would say, yeah, communication for us.
Carolyn?
I think, becoming more comfortable with flexible working arrangements, which again, for a lot of people with commitments at home, it is a great thing to bring more into this sport. So I think being able to evaluate the needs of a role and I think see how well things went with people working remotely. I think that was a great thing. I think on the flip side, a lot of people that thought they would love to purely work remotely really miss that connection of being with people in the office and the camaraderie with their colleagues. So I think on both sides, that balance of bringing people together and having people feel connected to each other and to the organization, but being able to keep some of this flexibility that we've seen work really well, and provide work-life balance for people.
Huh. And I think, I don't want to, Miss Rocky, I see that Stephanie has a question that we'll open your camera in a second. But Rocky, the same question to you. Here you're doing community outreach, community affairs. You're doing tremendous things. The Marlins Marlins Ayuda program, they're doing great things. How has the pandemic pivot allowed you to come up with creative ways to reach out and incorporate the community?
Alfred, I think we were in a unique position because food security was one of our pillars at the foundation, even pre-pandemic. So what it allowed us to do was really quickly respond and sort of have even larger efforts in that space. We actually, in a couple of weeks, will be serving our millionth meal in response to COVID to the local community. So we're really proud of that and really proud of, how we've been able to be responsive. Obviously, we layered PPE equipment and offering masks and, working with many of our partners who are part of the chamber, like Florida Blue. We're starting to talk to folks and get information out, like UHealth, information about vaccines and things like that. We want to make sure we're that educational resource for the community. On the empowerment side and educational side, we had challenges. We work very closely with Miami-Dade County Public Schools and a lot of charter schools. And obviously, with schools being closed or being virtual, it became challenging to execute against some of those programs. And like Kim said, we shifted to a virtual model. And I think, again, everything has pros and cons. But I think as we look at the future, you're probably going to see a hybrid model, right? Because with Zoom meetings and Zoom educational panels and discussions and being able to continue to engage our players remotely, we were able to have more kids participate than perhaps in person, right? And get value from those offerings. So I think as we look ahead at some of our educational offerings, we're probably going to look at a hybrid model of going in person to certain things, but also continuing to offer some Zoom and digital offerings that might allow more people, more kids, more youth in our community to participate and be part of things.
Yeah, I'll never forget, and I don't think anybody should forget what the images that we saw for days and days and days of, at first, all the testing that was being done at the Marlins site, and then all the vaccinations. I mean, you guys have been a tremendous community partner, and we're having the success that we've had opening in a safe way, because everybody else in the country seems to be wanting to close, and here we are open, but our rates are nowhere near what they are in some other communities. And I think it's because we've got the kind of partnership and the kind of caring that the Marlins have for this community. So thank you, all of you, for that.
The last thing I'll mention, Alfred, is on the youth baseball side. It's been so inspiring to see how many young people are committed, engaged, and coming out to play. I mean, it was unfortunate, right? We had our parks closed. We had to, we weren't able to offer youth sports in the same way that we had before the pandemic. But to really see the resurgence and to see the excitement and to see the kids out there playing, we have more than doubled all of our youth programming this year post-pandemic. And it's just incredible to see the excitement of our youth and seeing them out there being active and out there playing sport.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, it is. It really is. Both of my grandsons play on the Marlins league on the beach, so I get to watch them every Saturday and Sunday. So thank you, Marlins, for that. Hey, Stephanie, did you have a question? I don't know if we want to open up Stephanie's mic. If you have a question, this is your chance to talk to the top brass at our Miami Marlins. Maybe I asked the question, Stephanie, just put her hand down. Well, anyway, thank you, ladies, so much for an incredibly engaging program. Thanks for all you do. We are thrilled to have such great leadership at the Marlins, and I hope that all of our chamber members who are out there take advantage of the deal that you guys have offered to the chamber members to join in a game, but also that we keep supporting from a corporate level our incredible Miami Marlins, because the partnership between businesses and baseball. I grew up in Philly. I started my career in Baltimore, two incredible sports towns, incredible baseball towns, and I have seen the power that happens when the business community and the baseball community come together in terms of making things better for all in the community, business opportunities, as well as some of the wonderful community activities that can happen for that. So thank you all very much. And I hope everybody continues to support our Miami Marlins. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Irene.
Here we go. All right. Well, listen, that was tremendous. Thank you again, Kim, Caroline, Rocky, and Kelly. I am so proud of our hometown baseball team. Wow. Really. This has been very inspirational to me. I think there was and I can see that on the chat, ladies, if you've had a chance to be watching that, I know you've been engaged in the dialogue, but if you have a minute to go through the chat, you're going to see that these forums do bring about change. They highlight things that are possible. Who would have thunk, right? I think it was Warren Buffett, who said, if you're an organization and you think that you're going to succeed by benching half of your team, and he was talking about women, you are grossly misinformed. And I think those are great words of wisdom. So thank you again. Now, as we get to the end of our program, I do want to recognize 3 anniversaries. You saw in the beginning, we have lots of companies that are celebrating anniversaries. Let me focus on 3 for today. We have 2 Chairman Circle anniversaries. Alan Morris, 63 years. The University of Miami, my alma mater, 55 years. And at Trustee Platinum, Brightline at 53 years. Remember, they were the FECI, so lots of tenure there. These are great companies, and we greatly appreciate your continued involvement in the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce, your best business networking value spend in all of our town. Also, too, now we talk about people who've been here for a long time, but we continue to grow our chamber, and we have 2 new trustee members, and I would like to give them a shout out and introduce them to you. First is trustee member, the Parks Foundation of Miami-Dade, represented by Grace Bracamonte. The Parks Foundation of Miami-Dade is committed to fostering a healthier, more livable and sustainable Miami-Dade by providing year-round support for parks facilities, and a multi-dimensional roster of programs for our community's residents with a focus on serving the youth, active older adults, and people with disabilities. And we've been talking about the importance of getting out there and being active. So welcome, the Parks Foundation. Also new to our chamber, another trustee member is the West Care Foundation, the Village South, presented here today by Beatriz Del Rio. West Care is a family of tax-exempt nonprofit organizations offering services in 17 states and 3 U.S. territories, providing a wide spectrum of health and human services in both residential and outpatient environments. Their services include substance abuse and addiction treatment, homeless and runaway shelters, domestic violence, treatment and prevention, mental health programs. These services are available to adults, children, adolescents, and families. The Village South has been servicing South Florida since 1953. Welcome. Incredibly important work in our community. So welcome to you both. As we come time to close, I have some news that we will not be having a May trustee luncheon, and that is because we will be hosting instead the South Florida Economic Summit. So please put it down on your calendars. It's a 2-part virtual series, May 4 and May 6. You can register online, miamichamber.com. It is going to be chock full of great content. We will be talking about Renew 305, the county's new economic development initiative, ESG investing, supporting social causes with your investment dollars. Also, why Miami, the capital of capital, why people are coming here. You're going to be hearing from these businesses. We've been hearing about these organizations, and you're going to get to hear directly from them as why they found Miami so appealing. And we're going to be talking about the GMC members' corporate impact on community. So, and if that wasn't enough, I didn't bury the lead. You're also going to have Mr. 305 Pit Bull on the entertainment business. And we're going to have a conversation with our own Jewel Romero Brito on the art of business and his story of his success. So I think it's going to be tremendous. We thank our sponsors for this. So it's sponsor and Chairman Circle member Fiserv and the Platinum sponsor Career Source for bringing us this great content. And you're going to have a lot of promotional activities. So put that on your calendars, okay? May 4 and 6 for the South Florida Economic Summit. Thank you very much. We are adjourned. Have a great rest of the day.